Alison Green. I'm here in Deschutes County, which is Central Oregon, so kind of right in the middle of the state. We are actually on the east side of the Cascades. So we are on the dry side of the mountain. We sit at about 4,500 feet elevation. So wildfire is something that we work with just about every year. So I am the program coordinator for Project Wildfire. Our goal is to prevent death, injury, property loss, and environmental damage due to wildfires in Deschutes County. So essentially the way that we do that is we work with a variety of stakeholders to essentially achieve more than in the past one entity or agency has achieved in regards to preparing our residents for wildfire. So we've been around since 2004. So we are just constantly working on a variety of topics here in Deschutes County related to wildfire. So next slide, please. So education is one of our biggest things. The variety of topics that we educate our homeowners on, we have a gamut of topics, and so we also have a gamut of outreach tools that we use to reach folks. One of our biggest partners, we are so fortunate to have a huge and great relationship and long-standing relationship with our local media. So we have constant free earned media on our radio stations, on our local TV stations. The photo that you see here was actually our very first Trex event back in 2015. And we actually had our local news station come out and film that very first Burn to Learn event. And so talking to folks about, how they can make a difference around their home, why we're doing prescribed fire, why there's smoke in the air, evacuation preparedness, the top, my right photo is we did a demonstration on bark chips next to wood siding. So overall, the way that we are evolving our education, I think since 2004, we've tried just about everything. We do community events, we do coffee sleeves, as you can see in the photo. It just really depends. And so this is not only helping reach a different group each time, but we are also up against a very high volume of development and growth here in Deschutes County. So we have been the fastest growing county in Oregon for the last 10 years. And sometimes we end up on that top 5 list for the nation. It depends on the year. One of the most recent studies showed that we had 9 new people per day moving to Deschutes County in 2017. So our educational challenge is before us every single day is, making sure that we are reaching folks that have been here for 20 plus years. How do we still maintain our relevancy with those folks? And then the folks that just moved here, how do we communicate to them that wildfire is an issue here, that we need fire in these forests, but they also need to be prepared for our summers? Next slide, please. So one way that we do this is through our giant network. So I am the only essentially paid staff of Project Wildfire. Essentially, I'm governed by a 27-member steering committee. So that includes folks from kind of traditional partners, what you would think of, fire departments, federal partners, state partners, county, all of those traditional folks, emergency management. And then the other half of that steering committee is based, it actually has presidents, it has insurance representatives, it has Deschutes County 911, it has our extension service. It has a variety of folks that through the years have realized that they have a stake in preparing Deschutes County for wildfire. And so they all work together. For the end of the day, if we have a wildfire with catastrophic effects, nobody wins. And so everybody works together. So the photos show kind of a variety of the way that we all work together. But it is, this really helps us share the burden. It also helps us share the script. The neighborhood ambassador program they have going in Colorado, that neighbor to neighbor connection is so vitally important, and we do our best to capitalize on that. Our steering committee, we can't reach all 180,000 people in Deschutes County. And so the variety of scripts and the variety of people that have the same script they're able to go out and make the connections that are going to be the most meaningful way, rather than the crazy lady at Project Wildfire that nobody has met in Deschutes County. How can people really get those connections in a meaningful way and then take action? Next slide, please. So one of our most long-standing programs in Deschutes County is one that we call Firefree. So this is a resident empowerment program. It's also an incentive program. So Firefree is a year-round education program. So it has defensible space and kind of personal preparedness steps broken down into 10 steps, essentially making the correct thing the easy thing for folks to do. So how can they prepare their home? How do they get started thinking about evacuation? And then kind of coupled with that education that's year-round, we offer free or half price incentive events throughout the county 2 times a year. So that is, folks can haul their debris for free in the spring. Now it's scaled up to 4 different counties, 9 different events and locations. And then we have a second one in the fall for Bend residents. Not only because it is the largest city kind of on this side of the Cascades until you get way east, but also the city limits of Bend does not allow any outdoor residential burning. And so giving the Bend residents a second option to get a jump on fire season was really, really vital to Firefree's success. And so these are just a variety of pictures. One of my favorite ones is a couple of years ago, we had a gentleman who was so excited about Firefree, but he didn't want to put debris in his car, yard debris in his car. He actually started hauling it with his bike, and instead of using it for a dog or a kiddo, he used it for pine needles and limbs and things like that to take to Firefree. So we have typically anywhere from 35 to 38,000 cubic yards, translates into about 3,800 dump trucks full of debris. So folks really getting a jump on fire season. You know, it's always interesting to hear each fire season. I know I have folks that take advantage of it every single year. Every single year as well, though, we have folks that see these sandwich boards at the top of the photos there. They see them and they go, oh, what is that? I need to be taking advantage of that. And so making sure that the correct thing of preparing their home and their families for fire is also the easy and cost-effective thing to do. So next slide, please. So kind of the last piece of our incentives is, you know, Charlie, I love the word that you used, the kind of the kickstarting program, but, you know, we lovingly term these sweat equity. So essentially we secure grants to help folks in communities in the WUI, which is essentially our entire county, really take action themselves. We're trying to teach folks how to do this. At the very beginning of the program, we tried to do it for folks. What we found out there is that we ran out of money really, really fast, and there was no maintenance. There was no ownership on the part of homeowners. They were like, oh, they'll come through, you know, Project Wildfire in Deschutes County, they'll come through later and they'll do it again for me when my vegetation needs it again. And that really wasn't what we wanted to be teaching folks. We wanted to empower them and make it easy, but we didn't want to just do it for them. So now what we do is we essentially help with contract management. So I work day in and day out with Ed Keith. He's the Deschutes County Forester. So part of, you know, a lot of his job isn't to manage the millions of acres of county forest. It is to really bolster and formalize the grassroots efforts that are going on with Project Wildfire, help with the contract management, and really lend the Deschutes County name and lend it a lot of relevancy and kind of back up from that that strategic place of being the county. And so we help folks secure contractors. We give them a date and we tell them, get it to the roadside. We will chip it or we will haul it away one way or another. So this way it really gets rid of that issue of some folks needing to drive 30 minutes, 45 minutes just to get to a transfer site to recycle their debris. They don't have to worry about a trailer. They don't have to worry about a truck. If they're elderly, then their Firewise community can jump in and do that for them. And so they're able to really get the work done and get the meaningful defensible space work done without having to worry about, oh crap, it's done, but how am I going to haul this and get it off of my property? In other cases for sweat equity, essentially they're cost share programs. We had to come up with some sort of catchy name to not confuse it with some of the state programs that are available through Oregon Department of Forestry. And so one other one, kind of the top photo with that young man in the hard hat, he is actually a Lapine High School student. We use the forestry club there to actually help us with kind of reduced fees for doing contracting for folks that either can't do it themselves. It's extra chainsaw work and practice for those kids, and it's a way for them to gain experience into going into the forestry field. So we can help treat commons. We can help with a couple of folks that really can't do it themselves, and we fund, a trailer or a contractor to get that done. It just really depends on the project, but the funds really help kickstart that and help folks then move forward in a way, and they go, not only do I really like the way that it looks, that really wasn't all that expensive. If folks are getting it to the roadside and, in the grand scheme of things, hiring a chipper or, essentially a contractor to come through and pick up every other year, it's not nearly as expensive as we thought it was. And so it really kind of helps them dip their toe in and gently slide into this idea of getting prepared for fire without that initial financial impact on top of everything else. So, I love these photos just kind of to give you the size of the debris. The little Subaru Impreza is mine. So that brush was the size of my car. So folks really love these events. We joke Firefree, things like this. I mean, sometimes the incentive is not more than a cup of coffee for folks, the cost. But the idea of free really is what gets to the heart of folks and gets folks moving in our community. So we are so fortunate with all the activity that we see. We're so fortunate with the continued investment. Firefree last year turned 20 years old, and the fact that it's still growing and we still have more and more input and more folks participating in it, we couldn't ask for more. So we are so lucky, and we are really, really happy so far with the program.